a knocking pendulum that's rotating. The pendulum itself is going back and forth in about the same direction, while the Earth is rotating underneath the pendulum, essentially moving the pegs into the way of the pendulum about every 7 to 8 minutes. But the pendulum is able to do this because of its momentum. It weighs about 240 pounds, and once we started this swinging back and forth, we gave it momentum, enough momentum to actually resist the rotation of the Earth underneath it, and of the building it's attached to, because it is attached to the observatory, it's attached to the Earth, and rotating with the Earth. But the pendulum's momentum allows it to resist that rotation that it feels from the Earth underneath it and the building it's attached to. Now, a lot of people's first guess is that this is the clock. So if you look down here, you see a bunch of numbers in a circle. But if you pay close attention to how many numbers there are, you'll see it goes from 0 to 41. That counts out 42 hours. That's just how long it takes this pendulum to appear to go around the circle one time. But depending on where you do this experiment on the Earth, that number is going to be different. So here it's 42 hours. If we were to try this exact same experiment on the North and the South Pole, it would only take 24 hours to make a full circle, which makes sense, right? It takes the Earth 24 hours to make one full circle. So the pendulum would just be sitting in one spot, appearing to rotate once every 24 hours. But as you move away from the poles and closer to the equator, it takes the pendulum longer and longer to make a full circle. So here at our line of latitude, it takes about 42 hours. If we were to do this experiment a little further south around Mexico City, it would take about 72 hours. But then, once we get to the equator, something really weird happens. This experiment stops working. So if we were to try this experiment anywhere along the equator, we could start it going back and forth, use the same ball, same string, same everything. We'd start it going back and forth, but we would never see it appear to rotate around the circle. That's because at the equator, there's no rotation